At VTech International, every workday starts the same way. The 14 employees arrive, scan their fingerprints at the entrance, and settle into their workstations. Mira works the front desk as the receptionist. Rajiv is the team leader and the boss's most trusted man. There is also a janitor named Sindhu, whose husband Sathyan works there as a security guard. That morning, Mira calls in a man named Aravind to discuss a product design project with Rajiv. Then she spots the boss's car on the CCTV monitor and signals everyone to get back to their desks and look busy. The boss is a strict man named John. The second he walks in, he notices one empty chair. It belongs to Bybes, who has not arrived yet. John hates lateness, so he calls Mira into his office and tells her to remind Bybes about workplace discipline. Strangely, for all his strictness, John also seems obsessed with his employees' health, constantly treating their well-being like it is his top priority. Bybes finally shows up, but he lingers outside to take a phone call from his mother first. Once everyone is present, Rajiv heads into the meeting room with Fayaz and Aravind. A few employees step out near the parking area for tea, while Sindhu serves coffee and refills the machine in John's office. A little later, John heads to the restroom, and around the same time Sindhu starts vacuuming, the loud noise annoying some of the staff. Soon after, Rajiv gets a call from John's business partner, Gibson. He leaves the meeting to pass the message along, but John is nowhere to be found. Someone tells him the boss went to the restroom a while ago. Rajiv walks over and calls out for John. No answer. He knocks several times, still nothing, and realizes the door is locked from the inside. Worried now, he sends Sebastian to grab the duplicate key from the security post. They unlock the door and everyone freezes. John is lying motionless with blood pooling from the back of his head. Rajiv checks him and confirms the worst. John is dead. From that moment, the whole office becomes a crime scene. This is Golem. The place erupts into panic. Police and a forensic team arrive, led by Assistant Inspector Sandeep and his subordinate Rahim. Almost immediately, Sandeep gets a call from his superior, warning him to handle this carefully, because John was a close friend of a government minister. The case has to stay quiet and get solved fast. At first, Rahim sees nothing suspicious. His theory is simple. John slipped, hit the back of his head, and died from the fall. But the forensic doctor complicates it. He determines John actually died about an hour to an hour and a half earlier. The fatal wound came from the impact to the back of his head, with no other marks on his body. Then investigators find asthma medication in John's desk drawer and learn he suffered from severe asthma. So the police shift to another idea. Maybe John had a sudden breathing attack, fainted, and hit his head. But the restroom floor is completely dry, so he could not have slipped on water. The stain on his clothes turns out to be spilled coffee, not blood. And there are no signs of poisoning, no vomiting, no foam, no chemical smell. Poisoning gets ruled out. The forensic team hands Sandeep a folded tissue found inside the restroom. Once the scene is processed, John's body is sent to the hospital for a full autopsy. But Sandeep cannot shake the feeling that something is off. He examines the restroom himself and notices scratch marks on the inside door handle, as if someone had desperately tried to pull it open. He has the handle dismantled, but the lock is not broken or jammed. It works perfectly. Sandeep reviews the office CCTV. The footage shows John heading to the restroom after coffee spilled on his clothes. That detail bothers him. If John only went in to clean a stain, why lock the door at all? And even if he did, the sink and the door were close enough that he should have been able to reach over and unlock it easily, especially while struggling to breathe. The scratch marks prove John tried to get out, but the door never opened. Sandeep starts wondering if someone jammed the lock from the outside. The problem is, the CCTV shows the duplicate key was retrieved from Sathyan at the security post, exactly where it was supposed to be. Rahim sticks to his theory, but Sandeep tears it apart. There are no signs John moved from where he fell, no other injuries, and the floor was not slippery. This points to something far worse than an accident. According to the footage, while John was inside, only 3 female employees walked that way, and all of them seemed to be heading to the water dispenser beside the restroom. That leaves Sandeep stuck on who could possibly benefit from John's death. So he digs into John's personal life. John has no close family nearby, was married twice with both ending in divorce, and had no children. He does have a younger brother named Evan who lives in America and is even wealthier than John. Then there is the business partner, Gibson, who runs most of their operations in Dubai. As it happens, Gibson has been in India for a few days and is already on his way to the office. That puts Gibson on the radar fast since he looks like the man who gains the most. Sandeep orders his team to collect every employee's phone, then starts interrogating everyone, beginning with Rajiv, who found the body. Rajiv explains he went looking for John, because Gibson called about John not answering his phone. But that raises a flag. Sandeep learns Rajiv once worked with Gibson in Dubai for 3 years. He also asks if anyone heard strange sounds from the restroom. Nobody did, because Sindhu was vacuuming at the exact moment John went in. Sandeep questions the staff one by one, carefully studying their hands. No fingerprints were found at the scene, so he suspects the killer wore gloves. During Nina's interrogation, police find sleeping pills in her bag. She says she has insomnia, but the pills need a prescription, and she claims she bought them freely from a pharmacy. Sandeep asks for the pharmacy address and sends an officer to investigate it for illegal sales. The interrogations turn up more. BBs had recently been scolded several times by John, and one argument got so heated that John even struggled to breathe. When questioning Sebastian, Sandeep notices a cut on his finger. Sebastian says he sliced it on a broken acrylic panel at his desk. Sandeep checks the desk and does find broken acrylic and traces of blood, which seems to back up the story. Meanwhile, Rahim notices Aravind acting nervous. When he asks what is in the bag, Aravind panics and bolts, but he is caught outside. It turns out he was hiding marijuana. He gets handcuffed and locked in a room. It has nothing to do with the murder. Then Gibson finally arrives, and the staff are visibly shaken to see him so soon. Sandeep questions him about the future of the company. Gibson explains the inheritance paperwork was done long ago. If John died, the company would automatically pass to his brother, Evan. Gibson admits he has met Evan, but they were never close, and he says he and John shared several other businesses in Dubai. When asked if John had enemies, Gibson brushes it off, saying every competitor in business is an enemy. After Gibson leaves, Sandeep steps out to the parking lot for a smoke and notices a strange scratch pattern on one of the cars. It reminds him of a similar scratch once made by the grandson of a doctor he knows. Right then, he gets a call from his officer. The sleeping pills found on Nina were actually prescribed legally by a psychiatrist named Dr. Khoury, who Sandeep happens to know personally. That grabs his attention. He goes back in and asks who owns the scratch car. It belongs to Arun, who casually says his child made the scratch. Still suspicious, Sandeep inspects Arun's phone and finds something that completely changes his focus. Without a word, he leaves the office and drives to Dr. Khoury's house, telling Rahim not to let anyone leave until he returns. Sitting face-to-face with Dr. Khoury, Sandeep asks if he has any connection to the VTech employees. The doctor is caught off guard and denies it, but Sandeep pushes. He reveals that one of the female employees bought sleeping pills on Dr. Khoury's prescription. And more than that, out of 16 people connected to the office, 14 had records of regularly visiting the doctor. Dr. Khoury goes silent. Here is what actually happened. When Sandeep inspected Arun's phone earlier, he was accidentally handed the wrong phone. Inside it, he found appointment records with Dr. Khoury. That made him check the other employees' phones, and nearly everyone had the same visit records. When Sandeep mentions that John died earlier that day, Dr. Khoury looks genuinely shocked. That reaction convinces Sandeep the doctor is tied to this company. Realizing the truth cannot stay hidden, Dr. Khoury decides to explain everything, and it all began with Mira. Mira had been treated by Dr. Khoury's daughter for fertility problems. After a long struggle, she finally got pregnant. At first, everything seemed fine, but one day she was rushed to the hospital with unbearable abdominal pain. The doctor discovered her unborn child had already died nearly 24 hours earlier. It shattered Mira emotionally. Feeling sorry for her, Dr. Khoury's daughter asked her father to examine Mira personally. While testing her blood, Dr. Khoury found a strange foreign substance in her bloodstream. He had no idea what it was. While he kept researching it, 2 young men came in complaining of severe headaches and insomnia. They were Sebastian and Albert. Once Dr. Khoury learned they worked at the same company as Mira, he got suspicious. He tested their blood and found the exact same substance. That was when he realized the one thing connecting them was their workplace. He told Sebastian and Albert about Mira's condition, which shook them because they had started feeling sick too. He asked them to think about which other co-workers had developed strange health problems. Sebastian remembered Arun was suddenly losing huge amounts of hair, and Albert recalled Fayaz's eyesight was getting worse. Dr. Khoury asked them to bring Fayaz and Arun in, but when the day came, nearly every employee from VTech showed up together, almost all of them suffering. Only Mira and Rajiv were absent. Nalima's fingernails were rotting, Mufida had severe hair loss like Arun, Sarah had memory problems, and the rest had their own disturbing symptoms. Horrified, Dr. Khoury tested everyone's blood. The employees wanted to report it all to John, but John was still in Dubai and would not be back for a week. After examining every sample, Dr. Khoury found the common thread. Each of them carried a mysterious chemical compound capable of altering human DNA. Now certain the source was inside the office, he questioned Sebastian about their daily routines and tested the food and drinks they consumed at work. Eventually, he uncovered the horrifying truth. The employees had been ingesting the chemical through the food and drinks provided at the office. Digging deeper, Dr. Curry uncovered hidden information tied to John himself. John was not just a businessman. He was one of the founders of a pharmaceutical company called Viparma, well known in medical circles, with its own laboratory and a license registered under the name Dr. Evan. Dr. Curry warned Sebastian to tell no one, then gave him one task, to secretly copy files from John's laptop. When Sebastian did, he found something terrifying. The files discussed a human mutagen virus and its antidote, referred to as the red virus. But according to Dr. Curry, the virus was not what harmed the employees. The real cause was the antidote, secretly fed to them through the office food and drinks. Even the fingerprint scanner at the entrance was never about attendance. It was monitoring the changes inside their bodies after exposure. The entire thing had been planned by John and his company from the start. The employees were lab subjects, tracked through Viparma's systems. And even though John knew Mira was pregnant, he continued the experiment without care, all for his pharmaceutical research. His constant concern for their health had never been kindness. It was just a cover for the experiments. Then Dr. Curry revealed the cruelest part. The employees could not be cured because the antidote tested on them was an unfinished black version, an unstable and unfiltered form of the drug. He handed Sandeep all the documents he had gathered on Viparma. He had tried his best to treat them, but the damage would follow them for life. Over time, they stopped coming and hid their illnesses instead. Dr. Curry had urged them to expose Viparma and was ready to help, but they refused, convinced the law would never beat people with money, influence, and political connections. So they chose to fight back their own way. Though they never told him the plan, he knew what they intended was wrong, but he could not fully blame them. Their lives were already destroyed while the real criminals stayed free. Sandeep is left speechless. He asks Dr. Curry to help locate Viparma's secret lab, then returns to the office. By now the news has spread and reporters crowd outside. Fully aware of what the employees suffered, Sandeep decides to release everyone, including Aravind. But he keeps investigating how they killed John without a single camera catching it. He reviews the footage again and again, and piece by piece he uncovers exactly how it was done. It started with Sebastian and Albert, who needed John's death to look completely natural. Since they could never reach him outside work, the murder had to happen in the office, hidden from CCTV. Mapping the blind spots, Albert noticed there were no cameras inside John's office, inside his private restroom, or in the hallway beside it where the water dispenser sat. Then looking at a fire suppression box on the wall, he got an idea. They gathered all their co-workers except Rajiv, John's most trusted man, and everyone agreed to join. The plan revolved around the building's fire suppression system. When a fire is detected, carbon dioxide gas is pumped through emergency pipes to smother the flames. Sebastian realized enough CO2 could kill a person, and that was exactly what they would do to John. Best of all, it would look natural, since carbon dioxide levels in the body rise on their own after death. So the autopsy would not immediately raise suspicion. Every person had a job. Satyan replaced one of the water hoses and hid the old hose above the CO2 tank compartment. Sebastian parked his car right beside the tank area, which had no camera coverage. Bibes deliberately arrived late while pretending to be on a phone call so he would not look suspicious. But his real job was different. He climbed onto the CO2 tank area and attached a balloon rubber seal onto the exhaust pipe connected to the restroom ventilation above the tanks, then inserted the water hose into that seal before casually walking off, still faking his call. Mira and Fayaz had another task. They had to keep Rajiv stuck in the meeting room while everything happened. Fayaz kept him occupied. When Sebastian, Albert, and Nalima stepped out for tea, Sindhu started her part. She refilled the coffee machine, but secretly slipped a piece of paper into the coffee hose as a blockage. The idea was simple. When John pressed the button, the blocked hose would spray coffee onto his clothes, and he would naturally head to the restroom to clean up. There was one more setup. The restroom door closes by itself, so they needed to stop it from shutting before John entered. That job went to Nina, who always arrived earliest. Moving carefully along the wall outside camera coverage and leaving no fingerprints, she activated the door lock from the inside. Then wedged folded tissue in the gap so the door stayed slightly open. Once John entered, it would swing shut and lock behind him. Then their secretly made duplicate key would be inserted into the keyhole from the outside, making it impossible for John to unlock it. Outside, Sebastian sat where the cameras did not fully reach, then slipped toward the CO2 tank compartment while Albert and Nalima kept pretending to talk to him, so on camera it looked like he never left. Sebastian disconnected the tank regulator and replaced it with the water hose Bibes had already run to the restroom vent. Then he calmly returned to his desk. Meanwhile, Donna collected plastic waste and burned it in a bin near the CO2 tanks, creating thick smoke so nobody outside would come close. Everything unfolded as planned. Coffee spilled on John's clothes and he headed to the restroom. Mufida and Anju were already waiting near the water dispenser. As soon as the door shut and locked behind John, Mufida inserted the duplicate key into the keyhole from the outside, then turned off the vacuum and walked away. Anju signaled Sindhu to switch the vacuum back on, using the noise to mask any sound from inside. The moment Sebastian heard the vacuum running, he returned to the CO2 tanks and opened the valve, sending carbon dioxide straight into the restroom. Inside, John noticed the gas filling the room and panicked. He tried the door, but it would not budge. As the gas spread, he struggled to breathe, collapsed, and died. Once enough gas was released, Sebastian shut the tank, reconnected the water hose, and threw the balloon seal into the burning trash. But while reinstalling the regulator, he cut his finger. Sarah waited a few minutes, then quietly removed the duplicate key from the door. Sindhu shut off the vacuum just as Sebastian, Albert, and Nalima strolled back in. Worried the cut might draw attention, Sebastian deliberately broke the acrylic panel on his desk and pretended the injury happened there, and the camera captured it, giving him a clean alibi. Their plan worked perfectly. The man who turned them into human test subjects was dead, and no one suspected them. The next day, Sandeep gets another call from Dr. Khoury with more detailed files. They reveal Gibson was also deeply involved in the illegal medical project and is actually a biochemist himself. Dr. Khoury finally gives Sandeep the address of Viparma's secret laboratory, and Sandeep heads there to investigate the facility. Back at the office, Gibson officially takes over as the new leader of the company. But as the employees stare at him with pure hatred in their eyes, it becomes clear that John may not be the last target of their revenge. So the moral of the story is, if your office suddenly cares too much about your health, maybe stop drinking the free coffee immediately.